I call the August 1st, 2016 regular council meeting to order. Flag salute. Stan, could you start that, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6, 2016 regular council meeting and the June 20th, 2016 special council meeting?
So moved.
Jan, is there a second?
A second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Petitions, communications, citizens' request. First, is there anyone in the audience who would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, we are moving on to Police Chief Scott Wilcox will give a presentation to two police officers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your time. I just want to take a couple of minutes to recognize a couple of officers that work for the city. As you know, it's been a pretty long year. We've had a lot of turnover, and we are very lucky to have what we have now for law enforcement in the city of Old Town. So I'm going to start with Sergeant Lori Renzullo. For the last 6 years, she's been assigned to the main drug enforcement unit out of Bangor, and it's very grueling work. And just the short amount of what we've shared with you guys as far as the drug problems that are taking place in and out of Old Town, imagine dealing with that on a day in and day out basis. And Sergeant Renzullo did that. When I went to her and asked her, I said, hey, look, I got to have you back. We were short on some supervision. We needed some supervision. We got to have you back. Without hesitation, she said that she would. She's been back with us full time for a very short period, but has made a very large impact, and we are extremely lucky to have her back. So what I'd like to do is just present her with an award for the last 6 years that she was there for her extraordinary, dedicated, and vigorous work with the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, to Sergeant Lori Renzullo.
All right. Wow.
And so the second goes to Detective Jim Farron. So when I started here in Old Town, I met with David Walker, and he was telling me about the problems that the schools were having with free and reduced hot lunches being at about 62%. We had some demographics done last year from one of our interns that shows that that's right around 54%, which is higher than the main average at 49%. So Jim came up with the idea on his own to start taking, in lieu of a $20 parking fine, if people brought in $10 worth of non-perishable food, and then for the police department to donate that to the local food cupboard at Old Town High School. That was an extraordinary idea. That is his idea that he came up with. That reached out to and made its way all the way to Bruce Poliquin, who on February 8th, 2016, had this flag flown over the U.S. Capitol building because of the community policing efforts that Jim Farron came up with. So I think it's only appropriate that we recognize him. So the flag has been encased, as well as the certificate from Bruce Poliquin. So
Very nice. Very nice.
So again, thank you. We appreciate all the support that we've been provided, and look forward to where we're headed. So
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Very nice job to both of you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to reports. Council President, I don't have anything. Standing committees. Anybody from a committee? City councilors? Nothing?
No.
City attorney?
Everything's quiet.
Thank you. Special committees. City manager.
Just a couple things. Reviewing the assessment grant consultants right now. Should have that done and chosen hopefully by tomorrow. That should be finished up. Once we do that, that will kind of get us to the start of earlier this year we talked about the pre-award on the Jefferson Street School.
Yes.
We talked about. I applied for that. We did receive that. We need to have the consultant on board to let that process take place. So as soon as we get that done, we can we can start the cleanup on that and hopefully get everything going over there on the school, so.
Good.
And that's it for me.
Okay, any questions for Bill? Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. New business items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Counselor Nuttall.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby approves the suggested motions under new business items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 as presented. Number 1 is an after-deadline redemption for foreclosed property located at 36 Burnham Street. Number 2 is an after-deadline redemption for foreclosed property located at 37 Martha's Way. Number 3 is an after-deadline redemption on foreclosed property located at 1030 Stillwater Avenue. Number 4 is an application from Brooke Gardner of New Life Old Town for a major special event permit for the Day of Hope in Riverfront Park. Number 5 is the City Council will consider an appointment to the Old Town Development LLC. Number 6 is a request from the Kiwanis to waive the tipping fee at the transfer station for their annual auction. Number 7 is the City Council considers several personal property abatements of taxes. Number 8, the City Council will consider a request from the American Legion to allow alcohol to be served on the outside deck in an enclosed area.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Jan, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 1-0. Okay, moving on to public hearings and second reading of ordinances. City Council conduct a second reading for final approval on a proposal to amend Chapter 2 titled Administration Division 7, City Treasurer and Finance Officer by adding Section 96 exempting eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax to the ordinance. Open the public hearing. I believe we've discussed this quite a few times. Everybody's in agreement with this. Okay. Close the public hearing. City Council consider final approval on a proposal to amend Chapter 2 titled Administration Division 7. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolve the Old Town City Council hereby approves on a proposal to amend Chapter 2 titled Administration Division 7, City Treasurer and Finance Officer by adding Section 96 exempting eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax to the ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Linda, discussion? This is a roll call vote.
Counselor Nuttall?
Yes.
Counselor Peterson?
Yes.
Counselor Roach?
Yes.
Counselor Klitsch?
Yes.
Counselor May?
Yes.
Counselor McLeod?
Yes.
And Counselor Mahan?
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. We'll start with item number 9. City Council conduct a hearing to determine if buildings or other structures located on the property at 51 Lincoln Street, Old Town, Maine, as described in the warranty deed from Jesse W. Perry and Joyce A. Perry to Alan W. Cookson and Jean M. Cookson, dated March 7th, 1986, and recorded in Book 3790, page 335, Penobscot County Registry of Deeds, constitute a dangerous building as defined in Title 17, Maine Revised Statutes, Section 2851. So this time Dave will come up and explain to us where we're at with this. And the Cooksons are here tonight also.
Just in case. Good evening, Dave Russell, Code Officer.
Good evening.
I'm sure you've all gone through your packet. This has been an ongoing issue that I've been trying to work with the Cooksons over for the last few years. And it's come to the time when we need to take action. It's deteriorating beyond repair at this point in time. So I'd like to introduce everything that's in your packet. And also I have the signed and returned services that I'd like to also introduce to the packets.
Okay.
Again, as you've read, I've sent them a couple letters, and I have had conversations with them. And because of certain situations, I've allowed them extra time to try and take care of this. Again, it's just time. If you'd like, we can go through the photos describing what the issues are.
You guys want to go through the photos? We all set?
I drove by today. I slowed down and looked very closely.
So couple questions, David. So what happens from here as far as a time frame?
Tonight, if you want to handle that? You wanna-
Sure.
Please.
You're having the hearing tonight. The property owners are, I don't know if they're present or not, but they're
They are
entitled to be here.
present,
They are
yeah.
present. They have a chance to present their side as well. But first, you need to hear the evidence from the city side. And at the conclusion of both sides' evidence at the hearing, you need to determine two things. You need to take a vote whether or not the building is dangerous under the statute. And if you find that it is dangerous, then you must determine what the disposal should be. In other words, what needs to be done so that the building is no longer dangerous. And then after that occurs, that will be placed in the form of an order, which will come back to you at your next meeting for final approval, your written order. Now, I want to mention a couple of things. Your job tonight is not to determine if there is an ordinance violation. There are ordinance violations. There may be ordinance violations that do not necessarily make the building dangerous under the dangerous building statute. So your focus, some of the initial correspondence was really really notices of violation of your ordinances. Those may have been sent. They may be true. There may be violations, but the violations have to amount to a dangerous condition under the ordinance for you to act under that statute, or under the statute rather, the dangerous building statute. So what you need to look at after you've heard the evidence on both sides is the statute itself, and David has included a copy in your packet as the last item of the packet, and there's also a copy that's attached to the notices of hearing that were sent to the property owners. So that is the focus of what you're doing tonight. That very first paragraph of the statute gives a lengthy definition of what constitutes a dangerous building. And that's what you need to apply tonight.
So we actually have to make a motion tonight then?
Well, you have to hear the evidence first.
Yes,
And
yeah.
and the evidence has to persuade you that the building, you have to make a finding whether or not the building is dangerous under the statute. And someone will need to make that motion, either yes or no, and then you'll vote on that. And if you do find that the building is dangerous as defined in the statute, you then have to decide what disposal shall be made of the building. In other words, what needs to be done, what specific corrections need to be made, or what other action needs to be taken so that the building is no longer dangerous. That doesn't necessarily mean it's brought all the way up to code. It simply means that it's no longer dangerous under the statute. You will have the option at that point to list particular items that need to be corrected. If the evidence comes in that the building is not capable of being corrected, you do have the option to order demolition. But that's kind of a last resort in terms of remedies. The first step, though, is to hear all of the evidence on both sides and then make the determination whether it's dangerous within the statutory definition.
Okay.
Yeah.
To spare us going through all the evidence, if Mr. Cookson come up and said that he agrees that it's a dangerous building, it needs to be removed.
If he were to say that, yes, that could be done by agreement.
I'm on the same path with Stan. I think Alan is here, and I think we all know that the shape that it's in. And I did want Dave to explain if the council deems that it would be torn down, there is a fee to that. There's a fee attached to that, correct?
The Cooksons would have the opportunity to remove the dangerous structures on their own. If they are not ready to do that at this point in time, I would suggest 30 days to allow them to try and do that, which gets us through the appeal process, and then for the city to remove it and place a special tax on the property.
So it'd be a tax. So if once it's gone away with, if they decided to rebuild on it or to sell the property, then that's when they would pay the city back
That's correct.
before they could do either one of those two. And this is what we've done other places.
That's correct.
Okay.
Would the tax equal what it costs us to tear the building down,
Yes.
or would it be greater than that?
No, you can't impose a fine under the statute, but what you can do if the city is required to take action to correct the dangerous condition, and that's not necessarily demolition, but if whatever actions the city might have to take, that, as David just said, that is assessed as a special tax against the real estate just like any other property tax. And if it's not paid, it is lien just like any other property tax. And it is for the full amount of the city's costs in taking that corrective action. So whatever the final bill is for whatever work that you do, or demolition if that's the case, that gets put into that special tax.
But most of these demolitions we've done a few,
Yes, we have.
and they've equaled somewhere. I mean, I guess there's been a little range, but it's pretty much around.
Yeah, we
9,000.
actually, the city did one at 1206 Bennick Road, and then we hired for the last two that we've done. And
Okay.
it's the size of that house, but you have two structures there, around 9,000, somewhere in that area, but because we can utilize our tipping fee advantage at Juniper Ridge,
Right.
which that helps keep the cost down.
Okay. So, I mean, once again, I agree with Councilor Peace, and I guess I'd like to, if Mr. Cookson wanted to come up and just speak, just so we can hear their side, because I think all of us, we've had the book for a little bit here. We've all read it and seen it, so. Would you like to speak, Alan? You can just state your name and address for me, please.
Alan Cookson, 799 Stillwater Avenue, lot 55.
Yep.
I really don't have the money right now to do anything, but I know it's got to be torn down. But I just don't know how about to go do it, and I don't want to lose my property over this.
And I don't think that would happen, correct? And he pays the taxes, so you're not going to lose the property.
No, that's not the case. It's just in the event that he wants to sell the property at some time or do something other with that property,
Right.
the city would be guaranteed to get their money at that point in time for
Reimbursed
the
back.
demolition.
Okay. Some of the stuff, Alan, can you remove, in 30 days, do you have time to remove some of the stuff that you would need removed?
I removed some of the stuff the other day.
He's asking if he needs more
Yeah.
time.
Ask. I don't. She wants to know something about more time.
Yeah, for a month. Because you said you talked to AJ, you didn't get back to you
I
yet.
talked to my son. He works for Dan Thornton.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to see if I can get him to do it, tear it down. But
We haven't heard back from him.
yeah, I just talked to him tonight. So
Okay. Well, you got 30 days, so I think if you stay in contact with them and stay in contact with Dave, right, because they won't come back to the council for 30 days. So that would give time for you to keep removing things, and then if you can work out something with David, as far as.
The only disadvantage to that is they're not going to take advantage of our tipping fees. So it's going to be more expensive.
So it's going to cost more.
Why would it cost more?
Because we got a special, we have tipping fees, we get so much per year, so to haul that material away, and unless you're telling me Thornton's are gonna haul it away for nothing.
well,
But no, we gotta find out, we gotta talk to them.
that would come in the cost of tearing it down.
Okay,
I am assuming he'd probably give me one straight price for everything.
okay.
I'm assuming then.
If not, we'll just have to do it the other way.
Well, and like I said, you have 30 days from today, correct, David?
Well, that will depend. You
That
have a
depends
coup-
what we do.
You have a couple of options. You can
Right.
make that your order, that the building is dangerous, that it needs to be demolished, these folks have 30 days to do that. There's also a provision in the dangerous building statute not copied in your materials for demolition by agreement. And that would avoid the necessity of having an order. There would be no court appeal because it would have been done by agreement. And so your other option would be to continue this hearing to allow that agreement to be worked out and signed between the parties.
So whether it's Thornton's doing it or the city is what you're saying, as long as there's an agreement made? Is that what
Yes,
you're
it can be
saying?
done by agreement between the parties without actually going through finishing up the hearing process and entering an order.
And just so the city is not going to demolish this. We're going to put it out to bid.
We're gonna
and
put it out to
demolish
bid.
But we can allow them to use our credit,
Right,
which that's where the money is
the tipping fees.
in the tonnage.
Right, getting rid of it. David, are you comfortable with the second option, what Eric was saying about doing this,
Absolutely.
so, okay,
I don't want to see this drag on and then it's
Right.
winter and.
right. I mean, when you say this, you're still talking 30 days though, right?
Well, that would be part of the agreement
Right.
to be negotiated, but that it can be done by agreement.
Just so you understand, what we're asking is for you to agree with us that it needs to be torn down,
Yes.
and be willing to sign that agreement saying that we all agree that it needs to be
Yep.
torn down.
Yep.
That would give you 30 days to work out something with Thornton's to tear it down. The city is willing to give you, we have 3,000 tons a year of tonnage that we can put into Juniper Ridge, and they would let you do that, so that all you'd have to pay Thornton's for is the cost of
Extra
tearing down the
cost.
structure.
Right.
Yeah, no, that would, yes, I accept
Okay?
that, yeah.
You get all that?
Yep.
Even when he talks to Thornton, he can still use our,
You can use that.
The tipping fees, right.
Bill's agreed to that.
Yeah, so I
and
mean
Dave
that-
both, so-
yeah.
So when you talk to Thornton's, you can say, we can use the city's tipping
Yeah,
fees,
yeah, yeah.
okay?
So
Yeah.
it sounds like we could just make a motion to continue this.
Yeah, I would suggest a motion to continue with direction to the code officer to work out an agreement with the Cooksons on demolition of the structure.
Can I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. So just work with Dave going forward.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you guys for coming tonight.
yep, thank you.
I do have one last question. You said that that would be in the form of a lien, but a lien will come due at some point in time? Or is it just money that he owes the city until he does something with the property?
We would address that in the agreement itself, but it can be done as a special tax and not simply as an amount owed. You have more security if it's done as a special tax. If it's simply an amount that's owed, then it's not paid, then you have to go through the civil collection process and so on. So
So if the city did it, it'd be put in the form of something that could be a lien and we could take the property later.
eventually, yes. If that remains unpaid, and a lien is filed and the lien remains unpaid for 18 months, again, it's just like any other tax lien.
Could it be worked out in such a way that he paid so much a month on that instead of paying one lump sum?
That's certainly something that can be discussed
We would work
with
that out
them.
Dave?
Yeah, that can be part of the agreement. Yes.
Talk of miles, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Okay, we'll move on to item number 10. The city council consider accepting a quote for revised furnishings for the library. Fund will come from a library trust fund. Councilor Klitsch.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the quote from W.B. Mason Company in the total amount of $31,063 for revised furnishings at the Old Town Public Library.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Carol, discussion? Cindy, anything on this? No? Nope. Okay. I saw I did see the attachment to it.
Basically, it's, when you look at the library and you think about the new addition that's on there, it's not so new anymore. Neither is the furniture that's inside the library, so.
Yep.
It's all paid out of a trust fund.
Great.
Just wanted to make sure that you knew what was going on, so we brought it forward.
Appreciate that. Any other discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, moving on to number 11. City Council consider accepting a bid for a new police interceptor vehicle. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the low bid from Quirk Auto Group in the amount of $29,836 for a 2017 Ford Utility Police Interceptor vehicle. Funds are to come from the Capital Heavy Equipment Reserve Account number 700414.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Jan, discussion?
Question, that doesn't include the money that we have to spend to put the equipment in it? Correct.
That's just the cost of the vehicle. Right. Oh, I did have a question. We talked about this at the last meeting. So this is just one this year.
Just one this year.
Is that the plan going forward?
Plans to go to a 1-2 rotation, correct? So one this year, 2 next year, 1 this year, 2 next year.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Didn't we
Yeah,
talk
okay. All those in favor? Favor? Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming off vacation, Chief. I appreciate that. Yep. City Council consider accepting a bid for a new ambulance for the fire department. Council McLeod.
Excuse me. Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves accepting a bid from Sugarloaf Ambulance in the amount not to exceed $176,655 for a new ambulance for the fire department. Funds are to come from the Capital Heavy Equipment Reserve Account number 7000-0414.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Jan, discussion. Okay, so this dollar amount, there you are. This dollar amount is for you holding on to it, correct? See if we can
Right.
sell it for
The
more money.
176 is holding on to it.
'Cause
So
you-
it's not to exceed, and we could drop it down to 166.
But you feel pretty comfortable that it's worth more than $10,000.
I feel that it's worth more than $10,000, and I also feel that we could possibly get our money's worth out of it by keeping it, even if ours was down,
Right,
which
in case
has been
something
in the
breaks
past
down.
for a few times. I did call, just so we're all clear, our is lack of storage for a third ambulance. We're out of room, but Bradley has said that they could store it for us for a while, which keeps it undercover, keeps it in good shape, as good as it is. It can rotate in, possibly. There's a lot of other things down the road that we could look at. I don't really think it's there for transfers. I also know, pretty sure that if we can keep the money out there we've got it out for sale right now for, like I explained to you, slightly more than that, quite a bit more than that,
Yeah.
which I think it's actually worth. I would hope to get that, but we're not I was talking to the boss today, we're not in the car sales business either, so I can't spend a lot of time on that. It's out there, and we've got a broker out there trying to, actively trying to sell it for us, and if we, happen to get a bid that's more respectable, we'd come back to you and say, would you like to sell it then? That's what we'd say.
Well, like you say, too, just by holding on to it, it's not costing us anything. If they're letting it stay there, and if something breaks on something else, at least we got it for a backup.
Yeah, there's some built-in, when they do these ambulance bids, they have that 10,000, like I said, it's there. It's like the part of the bid on all these ambulances, whether you go with a Ford or a Chevy, whichever one you're constantly using, they give you a $4,500 rebate, right off, because Ford concessions call for being a loyal customer. Chevy does the same thing. They're built in. I almost think that 10,000 is like built in, I never get anything different from any of them, so I said, there must be some collusion going on there a little bit, so. But, yeah, but the numbers would be, so that would be the maximum we could spend,
Right.
in $10,000.
But that could also be used when you have appointments. Somebody makes an appointment to go to a doctor's appointment. and
Oh, for a
nursing home
transfer or
and stuff,
something like that?
right.
That's down the road, we could probably look in that. The problem, I don't want to confuse you on that, is that would mean we'd have to have all that equipment again that's inside of it, okay? And I wouldn't be looking to do that. In other words, we'd take it out, but there would be enough left on it, so quickly, in an hour, okay, say one of ours breaks down. Within an hour, we can go to Bradley, bring it over, take all the equipment out of ours, one that's in ours, switch it over. The crews just get in there, and it's like the Keystone. It's crazy when they do it, you know what I mean? And they can move everything over, but to outfit it would cost quite a
Okay,
bit
gotcha.
for the
All
third.
right.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
sounds
Down the
like-
road, if we wanted to look in that, there is money in that business, but I'm not really a great proponent of us getting into the transfer business. I think that's for another entity, and ours is to do emergency calls. That's my opinion.
Well, you're gonna have to have more people.
You'd have to have more people,
and then the other
they
thing-
get discouraged quickly because they think it's a great part-time job, and all of a sudden they realize they're spending an inordinate amount of time in the back of an ambulance, and, you burn out. There's a lot of factors, If it was cut and dried, I'd say, yeah, let's do it, but.
And there's others doing it also. Capital City,
There's a-
Bangor. A lot more
G&H,
competition than there used to be.
Bangor, Capital, all the ones that are out there, trying to stay afloat, or whether they're in the business for profit, as we say, which, and I think that's their niche. I think that's what they should be doing.
And one last question for me anyways, like we talked about, as far as leasing and stuff, something like this, you don't think that's right, but moving to a fire engine is a whole different story.
Yeah. When we get to the fire engine, I'd like to possibly have a little, a meeting that lasts so everybody can understand it, because it gets very confusing. There's so many different leases out there, whether you lease, like you asked me last time, lease to own, or lease to turn around and give back like people do with their own automobiles now, okay, after a short period. I found out the other day, all you do is pay the PM for 7 years on a fire truck, okay? And you turn it back in. You only pay for changing the oil and the regular maintenance, and other than that, anything else they cover.
That's a great deal.
I said, so, but I don't know what the cost is, I think that's a meeting that would take some time. I'd like to have a lot of help, Miles and Bill and yours input into it, so. But there are some creative financing, that's for sure, out there, and I think we should be looking at that. Fire trucks, just so you know, have gone from, they're crazy. A lot of things have gone like that, as we all know, and fire trucks have gone from what I would consider, fair price. I'll give you an example. That 2002 that we're operating right now cost around $262,000. That same fire truck to replace right now is $500,000. That truck does not have bells and whistles. Okay, you know what I mean? That's a basic fire truck. It does its job, but it's nothing so.
Wow. All right, any other questions for the chief?
What is the life of that particular fire truck, the 2002 one you're speaking of?
That's what I'd like to do is move it up to a 15-year lifespan. They are a 20-year lifespan, but the way it used to work here, when we had two, I mean, we always had two engines and a ladder, and then we decided that, I told you that it has worked out. I'm glad of that it's worked out with one engine, one ladder. So, like, maybe move it up, so, because it was 10 years front line, 10 years it sat in the back, okay, so it was a reserve pumper. Okay, now it's 15 years front line, so, then there's no reserve time, so.
Right.
It's getting worn every day, so.
Which costs money.
When that one's called for, you want that one operating. That's
Right.
all.
Right.
That's a big one. So,
Okay, great. No other discussion? All those in favor? None opposed.
thank you.
Thank you, chief. Last item for tonight. City Council consider accepting a bid for utility connection on the corner of Stillwater Avenue and 272 Benneck Road. Council Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the bid from Thornton Construction in the amount of $22,450 to install a 6-inch sewer service connection on the corner of Stillwater Avenue and 272 Benneck Road. Funds will come from the Stillwater TIF account.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Under discussion. So this is what you told us about the other night.
Yeah, we got 4 bids. Thornton's was the lowest.
You got what?
4 bids.
4 bids.
Thornton's was the lowest bid.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Trying to picture this on Stillwater Avenue, the corner of Benneck Road.
The house that's sold.
The house that what?
Took me
Don't
2 weeks to
inform-
figure it out.
Yeah.
He's had the hardest time figuring out where it is, so I'll try to, if you're going out Stillwater Avenue,
Yes.
so you come to the Benneck Road intersection,
Yes.
diagonally across the intersection.
Do you know where
across
John
from his
lives?
house.
You know where John lives? Just throw a baseball right across.
The house has been for sale.
Oh, the one that,
Yeah,
that
the
would
one-
make
yeah,
it
the-
Yeah.
bed and breakfast.
big
Yes.
colonial
Yeah,
one.
bed and
I
breakfast.
know, yeah, I know where it is.
Yep.
Yeah. I couldn't figure it out.
You could?
2 weeks.
I was
He
thinking.
didn't believe there was a house there.
I didn't think there was
yeah,
even a
it's
house
like-
there.
It's one of those, that's
Yeah.
one of the ones that you'd like to have somebody come in and really bring it back to its original grandeur, because it's just,
Well, I
Great.
think part of this is we will be working with the owner, I think, to give some
Yeah.
suggestions of what.
He came in and spoke with us, basically asked what the city wanted to see there. Whether it was trying to renovate that into a restaurant, or if they were looking for a smaller boutique-type shops, several different shops or several different offices.
that would be,
So he's willing to work with us on what we'd like to see there, so.
it's a great building if it's brought back to its original.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And this is ours.
Keep the building and renovate the building, or is he tearing it down?
Well, that's what he's trying to decide. Either one. He's trying to see how much it would cost
I
to
think
keep it
Stan
there.
ought to take that on as a project.
We can put that in the motion. Okay, no other discussion. All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, that is it for tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Jan,
I'll second.
Carol, all those in favor? None opposed. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.